Hello folks, my name is Hypocrite and welcome to yet another episode of HOI4 TNO as Magadan. So, in the previous episode we have managed to succeed in a coup against what was his name? God damn. I don't remember. Matkovsky. And now we are playing as, Republic of West Alaska, or just Magadan. We are still Magadan, but there is Mikhail Werbell himself as the head of the government. Or at least, not a government, but mercenary force. But yeah, we have managed to get rid of Matkovsky, and now let's go with the man who sold the Vozhd. The death of Vonsiatsky was in some respects inevitable. With his departure, the RFP lost its monetary support from overseas, stranding the mercenaries as strangers in a strange land. Left with little choice, Mikhail Werbell has launched his coup in the middle of preparations of war against another Russian fascist. Based in Amur, Konstantin Rodzaevsky. Scattering Matkovsky's army, Werbell has now come into possession of the port town of Magadan. Unfortunately, Matkovsky had escaped. Oh, we actually didn't kill him, but, well, he escaped. It might not be much, but Magadan has a harbor large enough to accommodate any soldiers of fortune that heeded Werbell's call. Though small in number, the mercenaries will roam and patrol the borders of Magadan, hunting down soldiers who swore their loyalty to Matkovsky. We will present to our prisoners two choices: fight for Werbell or die. Hell, maybe in the long and deep search into the country we might even find Matkovsky himself. After he's dead, we will consider that debt settled. Well, time to call in the cavalry, get seven the man who sold the Vozhd, and add modifier the mercenary state. I wonder what this modifier is. The Enforcer. Even by the standards of the Far East, this was a shitty bar. The floors creaked as the slightest movement, and the beer tasted like bear piss. There wasn't even plumbing, and yet this was Werbell's choice for a meeting place. Alexander Pavlov was decidedly unimpressed. Matkovsky, his old boss, had taken great care to manage his image, all for the benefit of the Americans. Now the Americans were here, and they behaved like pigs. Even now the mercenaries were busy stinking up the bar with their ugly accents and drunken hooliganism. The only thing keeping him here was the fact that Pavlov's transition from the orderly world of fascism into the chaotic, pecuniary land of the new Far East had not exactly been smooth. He needed word, and badly. He resolved, perhaps unwisely, to hear Werbell out. When the mercenary captain sat down at the table at last, 30 minutes behind schedule, Pavlov straightened his posture self-consciously and gave his greeting. Mr. Werbell, I am pleased to make your acquaintance. As you are no doubt aware, I served under the previous administration as the Vozhd top man in the matters of internal security, and you will find in short order that I am quite professional, should you choose to entrust me with such matters. Werbell met his offer with complete silence. Pavlov thought at first that this was contemplation, before realizing that the mercenary's eyes were completely uncomprehending. Oh dear lord, this man barely understood Russian. Werbell pulled one of the other mercenaries over to the table and beckoned to Pavlov to continue. The rest of the negotiations progressed with the other men clumsily interpreting in his slightly less bad Russian, and they proved surprisingly fruitful. Clearly the Americans had a deficit of loyal locals, and Pavlov was more than happy to fill in. Once a collaborator, always a collaborator. And in the previous episode we have begun to defend against the attack from Yakutian, and right now we are actually winning. So the man who sold the Vozhd is completed. I have some new and assigned divisions. Rifle Unit Alpha, what the hell are you? So let's take back what's no. We won't be taking this focus, but I'll read it anyway. Matkovsky, our loyal employer. Sorry, Once more, Matkovsky, our original employer, thought to pursue a war with the other wing of the Russian Fascist Party led by Konstantin Rodzaevsky. We have no business in this land than to get paid for a job well done in the field otherwise. Their ideological concerns, split differences, splinters don't mean anything to us. However, with thousands of men begging for transport to other parts of the world, we can cut them a deal of a lifetime. We will go to war against Amur. This Konstantin might have been partying in his offices, rejoicing in the fact that Matkovsky is seemingly gone forever, and the mercenaries will ship out in order. Well, he's in for a surprise. We will cross our informal border and destroy them. It's nothing personal, Mr. Rodzaevsky. In our defense, we are not after you, but the stuff you keep in your vaults. After we drag him and his followers out of Siberia, perhaps it would be good time to start looking towards something else. Something different. Okay, but before we do that, let's actually end our business here and deploy our motorized infantry. So the enemy is defeated, so we will get some early infantry rifle. Nothing too bad, but there were some more, let's say, useful things. Alright, so now that we are kinda ready to begin our assault, let's go with taking back what's ours. And let's go, bitch! Let's go! Will Chita actually do something? Nope. Not necessarily. I think that we will actually be able to get everything from them without, you know, even sharing with Chita. But we'll see. Now let's surround this guy and let's fucking go. Get a load of these guys. They are actually trying to push. Okay, so let's actually get into Rodzaevsk. Okay, so Japan does not concern us. Blagoslavchensk is ours. And what about you? You are still not giving up, huh? Transbaikal Principality declared war on the all-Russian government of Amur. You are late. You are late to the party, man. And Chita is justifying against us. How funny. And Zeya is ours, I think. Uh-huh. It is ours, so they will capitulate anytime soon. Okay, so they have capitulated, and now let's put our troops right on the border so that we won't be surprised or anything. We have some free military factories, so maybe I don't have any issues with production, so maybe let's go with just basic infantry rifles. And let's go with the focus tree. Consolidate control. Consolidate control. The time has come for a final war against Rodzaevsky. His resume is quite long: a bandit king reigning from Amur, founder of the RFP, and anti-Semite extraordinaire. Werbell, however, does not care all for him, nor the partisan in fighting in the RFP. All that matters at this point is survival. Rodzaevsky stands in our way to accomplish that. Without Amur and its mineral deposits, paying for the mercenaries on an unappealing export of fish and bread is impossible. We need to find a way out, and Rodzaevsky has something that we all want. It is time to tighten our grip in the Far East. Rodzaevsky cannot be allowed to stand at all. His army of bandits and fascist amateurs shall stand no chance against a modern and experienced army armed with the best gear in the whole known earth. As soon as we deal with them, we shall start planning for our future. God knows we have so many choices to choose from. And this will slightly decrease scoring time. So actually we can core Amur. Cool. And that's some scavenge for some loot and maybe train troops. And go for industrial investments. We have like 10 days left to prepare. Okay, so the control is consolidated. Yep. Deal with the madman. Rodzaevsky was not having a good day. The sun was too bright, straining his vision as jagged pieces of light fell into his eyes. He did not sleep at all last night, right after they delivered his verdict. He cracked his fingers through cuffed hands. They were taking him deep into the woods of Siberia, in the middle of nowhere, far from civilization. He felt his body twitch all over. The withdrawal was encroaching on his mind, and an uneasy cold settled over his bones. The men tasked with escorting him spoke foreign, faraway languages that he did not know even in the slightest. All they did was use the muzzles of their rifles to poke Rodzaevsky forward whenever it seemed that he was close to stopping. He knew that someone in the group spoke Russian. He didn't know which was which. The air grew hotter and hotter, swathing his body with a thin curtain of sweat. His mind wandered to strange places. He wondered about Matkovsky. They said they had never found a body. Rodzaevsky knew Matkovsky and his sly wit. Siberia was vast and empty. It would take a lot of centuries spread across a general direction to eventually find him. Devil Matkovsky was his worthy opponent, a fellow Russian who contended for power, not a mercenary out for money. They reached a clearing in the middle of the woods. One of them, the Russian speaker, went behind Rodzaevsky and blindfolded his eyes. It seemed like even the mercenaries had a touch of humanity. As his sight failed, he heard footsteps trail behind him, and rifles pointed in his direction, ready to fire a single shot that would end his life. A voice gave a signal, and the enfilade started. Rodzaevsky fell, lifeless, onto the ground. The bandit king is dead, never to return. Alright, so let's go with some more focuses. We're going even deeper. After the conquest of Amur, everybody thought they were going home. They aren't. With the money we got from Rodzaevsky's coffers, it's barely enough to pay for the mercenaries, much less to ship them back to God knows where they came from. Now it's not the time to look for ways to scamper from the problem. We are going to hunker down and go a bit deeper. Maybe this land will provide an answer to our troubles after all. First things first, however. In our naive belief that we will escape this godforsaken land with gains made from Rodzaevsky's and Matkovsky's heirlooms, we have not bothered to construct any form of civilian governance over the area. Now that we are booked for a much lengthier stay in Siberia than we thought, it is a prime time to establish order over Magadan and Amur. The people of these podunk backward towns must be itching to leave. For them, we have a business opposition to make. Okay, so they have started their assault, so maybe let's try to push a bit. Okay, so there's already someone here, but it seems as if they are not so powerful, actually. I think that this motor group Alpha will destroy them. I hope. Okay, so let's go with building the future. When Matkovsky and Rodzaevsky first split the party in the olden days of the anti-Bolshevik front, they did not expect that it was not they who would come out on top during the power struggle. Werbell, hailing from his homeland of America, with his foot down in Siberian soil and a face full of dirt for months, did not expect it either. Instead, the mercenaries he led won the Siberian Civil War with a panache befitting his long and storied career. The dust has settled. We have still enough concerns about pay, equipment and morale, but for now we are secure. To our west lies the land of the Tsarists, strange folk who want the emperor back in charge of Russia. Then there are the Reds, with their little scuffle over the outcome as opaque as it has ever been. From the north, our caravans there hear of the father and his exploits. The solution to our problem lies perhaps in Yakutian and Aldan, whose mines overflow with gold and diamonds. The future waits, and the best is yet to come. I think that the best thing to do now is to let them here in Blagoslavchensk, I think, and then cut them off, or at least it's that's the plan. A haven of our own. Werbell stumbled out of the door, drunk. They had hit the jackpot. Matkovsky was out there, somewhere, probably skulking in the shadows, but out of the picture nonetheless. Rodzaevsky was dead, with his madness buried 6 feet deep in the ground along with his body. All over the former RFP stronghold of Magadan, partying had begun. Soldiers and local talents alike mingled with the crowd, and alcohol flowed freely from the pubs to the offices of the commanders. Werbell drank this fill, and he gulped it deeply. He had won, and to the victor goes the spoils, or the swills in his case. In the next room over, the rest of his officers convened, their voices like indistinct hangs and thuds against the wooden wall. Sometimes he could hear a word or two emerge from the discussion, but his whiskey-addled mind soaked every last bit with liquor, and every phrase slid drowsily into his brain. No matter. He could trust his officers. They were loyal to more than their paycheck. If it had been the regular bread and butter mercenaries, he would have howled at them and shot his revolver all over the room. He looked at the tea-colored substance lying in wait in the shot glass of the table, inviting him to take it for a single sip. Maybe he can, maybe not. Better not to take the risk. Tonight was a fateful night. His neighbors were making history. The door creaked open. "Sir," one of the officers said, "we have an important question." "Spit it out already," Werbell said, growing impatient. "This whiskey is mighty tempting." "We have nailed the specific nature of the Republic, sir. There is only one question left, and I think you should answer it. It's about the name." Werbell stood up, his hands poised for a theatrical and grandiose display. He said almost at the top of his lungs, "We are west from Alaska," toppling from his feet, catching himself up in the last second. "West Alaska," the officer blinked at him. "Excellent choice, sir. Well, why the hell not?" Oh. And the new focus tree has appeared. Alright, so we actually can't do anything. I mean, we can't do much. We can do just greater ambitions, and bury the past requires us to be at peace. So let's go with the Republic of West Alaska. We have done the unthinkable. Werbell and his army of mercenaries have deposed the no-money, tin-pot tyrant Matkovsky from his seat in Magadan. His former friend, the bandit king of the Far East, Rodzaevsky, joined him soon after. The world now waits with bated breath as Werbell founds the first state for soldiers of fortune. Eschewing the naming conventions in Russia, he had taken to naming his new homeland after the region closest to his old one, West Alaska. However, the new republic needs to establish itself in this foreign land. The mercenary army shall reinforce the regions of Amur and Magadan to root out any fascist opposition against us in the area. Werbell shall invite young men from the villages and towns of the sparsely populated Far East to join the Soldiers Without Borders. A new page has appeared in the history of Russia. Whether it goes on to become its own chapter or remain a footnote remains to be seen. Well, they are not coming, so maybe let's invite them a bit more. Okay, so the focus is completed. Magadan Free Radio, broadcast 64. Today's radio started without hiccups. The audio, which had been Russian patriotic sounds sent to the tune of unmastered sound and constant crackling, was now playing a very soft piano, a classic, Chopin's Nocturne Op. 9, No. 2, the particular favorite of some of the mercenaries that worked in Harbin. It continued for several minutes until the last tone rang, and a voice, smooth, controlled baritone, took over. "Good evening, people of Siberia." A hint of English accent underlaid his Russian. "This is the new Radio Free Magadan, recently liberated from the fascists that had lived here for years. If you've just tuned in, this is your host, Steven, also known as Roast Beef to my French compadres." A carefully controlled laughter. "What funny boys. If you're Russian or in Merc parlance, a local, you can call me Strelok. Simple but effective." A cough. "Oh, excuse me," the voice said, lowering itself away from the microphone, although the percussions were still audible. "I apologize for the interruption. Now, due to the generosity of our benefactor, Mr. Werbell-esque," he moved to a whisper, "the Esquire is important?" He resumed, "If you have any requests, you can send them to our offices in Magadan, right near beside the all RFP offices. For now." sounds of the shuffling paper. It's now time for Surfing Safari by the Beach Boys. This is Strelok, or Roast Beef, signing off. Smooth rock commenced. At least they're professional. Yep. But maybe not as funny as those two guys before. Okay, so let's go with greater ambitions. Werbell has founded his state. The fascist dissidents in the countryside have either joined us or chosen death to join their puny little vosts. However, there is one more problem. The point of no return has passed, and we have condemned ourselves to dig this stretch of barren land until we either strike gold or die trying. We have to shoot the stars with a bullet left in the cartridge. Despite all the odds, all of us have agreed. This is a bet worth taking on. Let us lift the curtains of Magadan and Amur and gaze upon the rest of the Far East. This land may be sparse and deserted, but there is no shortage of gains to be made for the sharp-eyed mercenary. What are we then but a bunch of the world's craftiest bastards? We look to the north, past the Tsarists, and see a land full of milk and honey, the diamonds of Yakutia and the gold of Aldan Beacon. Surely more than an average soldier's paycheck, isn't it? Okay, so they are moving probably to the tiles here. Well, I hope. That was very stupid of you. And I let them here. Oh, damn. I thought that they will actually stay, but they are not staying. Aha, so... Ah, goddamn. So they have all committed to this little piece of land here. Maybe let's help them a bit. Alright, so these guys are trying to escape, but I think that they won't. Well, now it's mine. That's not quite what I have hoped for, but maybe if we stretch out the front line, we'll be able to do something. Oh, it's actually my core. So maybe let's up these numbers a bit. Okay, and I have lost actually 2 motorized, but why? Oh yeah, because they are like one unit here. Maybe let's give them one more, just for the sake of having at least some semblance of army. Oh, and I can actually surround them here. Cool. Well, at least I hope I will be able to do so. Yep. Finally. Finally, they are actually... Oh, no, you are not doing this. Maybe I'll be able to finish them off. Or maybe not. Maybe let's not get entrenched here, because we will find ourselves in a bit of a pickle if we do so. But maybe we'll be able to finish those off. It will be actually pretty fun and pretty nice if we would be able to do so. Yep. It's ours now. So right now we are kind of in a good position. Oh, we have a good amount of manpower. What should we do now? Maybe let's build some new research facilities because we have none, and let's invest in infrastructure. And maybe some research. Maybe let's try it for a second time. But I think that they won't fall for the same trick, sadly. Yep, they are going right into our trap. Okay, so no surprises there. In Madagascar, the other, Nazi one, not Maurice, but the Erhard Milch. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, man? Alright, so that has woken up. The North awakens. Amidst the endless warfare of the Russian Far East, few men have bothered to pay attention to the frigid lands of the North. Beyond a few abandoned mining towns, isolated Chukchi villages, and wandering nomads, the area was assumed to be more or less abandoned. A few madmen were said to occasionally find their way up there, attempting to establish their own empire in the cold, but the land bitterly refused to be tamed. The state of anarchy has now ended. It began with the hymns. Travelers brought tales of entire villages, united in prayer, singing songs of hope and peace in the name of the Lord. This hardly seemed unusual. Russia has been a godly land even through the days of the Union. But when many travelers all began speaking the same tales coming from so many different villages, our leaders began to suspect that something was amiss. Now we know why. An emissary has arrived in our midst from the now united North. He came only to deliver a message of judgment delivered from his master, the so-called Father Mien. This father has proclaimed the entirety of the North to belong to a single union in the name of God, declaring that we have committed grievous sin and besmirched the lands of Holy Russia. He has vowed to lead his flock of faithful against us and deliver unto us two things, divine wrath and divine salvation. We had hoped that this was some trick, but already our scouts are reporting movement on our northern borders. The North is indeed coming, and their hymns grow louder and louder by the day. We must ready our forces to meet this army of zealots head on. It would seem, however, that there are some amongst us who would rather leave this place and pledge their life in the name of this mad crusade. We must prepare, but I think that they won't attack right away. No, I think not. Okay, so actually they will first attack Kamchatka, and they will have to go down this route. So it will take them some time, actually. So we are now not in any threat at the moment, I think. So this was a clever thing to do, actually. Because the only thing now that actually reserve us from going into Chita is this one guy, and we are actually going right into the city. Cheromyshki airbase captured. After a particularly bloody siege, our men have captured Cheromyshki airbase from the cowardly enemy and pillaged the facilities of any retrievable plunder. With most of the airbase left intact after the siege, we find that the field may be able to be put into purpose sooner rather than later. The aircraft that sit in the hangars sulk, their metal wings still and unused. With an entire airbase now under our control, our territories can now support the squadrons of planes tearing across the ancient Siberian skies. With the airfield as an asset in our favor, our men may advance through the Siberian wastes, knowing full well that pilots watch over them from the skies. The east is cold and their winds are colder, but no such chill could render our determination to clash and to fly. The skies are ours, so we will get some production costs reductions. Cool. The Republic of West Alaska has defeated the Transbaikal Principality in a war. There is no middle ground. The Russian Tsar should reign or perish. And he perished. What we can actually do? Not much. We may actually go for Yakutsk. And I think that this is not a bad idea. Before we end the episode, of course. We can also, I think, core Chita. Yep. We'll scavenge for loot and we'll train our troops to get some of that manpower, maybe industrial investments. Yes, of course. The fate of the Tsar. Tsar Mikhail's presence in the Far East was nothing more than a series of unhappy accidents. An Australian by birth, he heeded the invitation to join a dinner party in Siberia, not knowing that he was the only claimant to do so. Later on, the Tsarists found, much to their shock, that Mikhail in actuality held no legitimate claim to the Russian throne. His father's non-dynastic marriage ensured that he is illegitimate at best, a usurper at worst. Still, we must decide what to do with him. Werbell has taken the luxury of treating the prince with generosity. The kid is no threat, however, he may still have his use. Hailing from a well-off family, perhaps we can ship him back to Australia in a flash, using our delivery services to make sure that he will be right as rain when he gets back. Of course, such premium transport should earn us a little more than a pat on the back. We'll call his family and tell them to keep in touch. Okay, so what is the fate of the Tsar? A Tsar's ransom. The former Tsar of all Russia sat on the unadorned, smooth concrete floor in this prison. The garb he was wearing did not resemble what he had worn for years, rough, threadbare, and bearing only a single color. His medals, his lapels, his unearned magnificence, all gone, scattered to the winds like the whites who had protected him. At least the guards spoke English, and they would frequently joke with him and bring him best of the prison rations, which now lay before him. Some soup with beans in it, a few slices of bread and a glass of water. Not much, but enough. Today's guard, Jack, had told him to dig into his food, ASAP, as he phrased it. An honored guest was coming, Jack said, and he did not want to piss off this guy. Mikhail had known who his visitor was from the start. Dressed in prison uniform and fed like the lowest worker in the world, the Mikhail's veins still flowed imperial blood. It didn't used to be like this. He had no claim to anyone's throne, and his crown did not fit him. At all this for a piece of poorly cooked steak. The bars of his prison clanked open. In the gap stood Mitchell Werbell and an interpreter. Mikhail stood, first a little unsteadily, and after a few seconds staggered to meet who might be his executioner or his savior. "I can speak English," Mikhail began. "The interpreter is unnecessary." Werbell nodded his head at his side, who immediately went away. "So," Werbell said, sizing Mikhail up and down, "a Russian Tsar with a limey English accent. Truth is stranger than fiction, indeed." He took Mikhail by the shoulder, and the two of them sat down together on the Tsar's humble bed, next to his latrine. I am not English," Mikhail said before stopping. Interrupting Werbell might not be wise. "Mr. Romanov," Werbell gestured at Mikhail. "That's your name?" Mikhail nodded. "You know, I am not really sure why you're here, and I can let you go for, of course, a small cost. I hear your dad has them deep pockets for royalty. It should be nothing for you." "How much?" "For a small cost of $500,000. I will put you on a skipper headed for England, Australia, wherever." "I don't have that kind of money." "Then you sure as shit should hope your father has." Mikhail was silent. Then he slowly nodded. "I am glad we had reached an understanding." Werbell left, and the prison clanked shut once more. Better than death, surely. Alright, so now Chita Training Academy. When our troops passed through the towns and villages of West Siberia, you would not believe the masses of young men begging for a chance to enter the legendary mercenary Werbell's army. The issue is, well, it boils down to their circumstances. See, these potential recruits come from backgrounds dissimilar to our own. Some are fishers, some are traders, some have not even seen a rifle in all of their lives. With such a feeble base of knowledge, they would only become burdens in the upcoming battles of Siberia. Fortunately, the recent conquest of Chita has provided Werbell the opportunity to tap into what little personnel that the Far East can give him. He plans to build a new training academy for all Russians intending to join his host there. Our veterans and senior officers shall staff this new educational establishment, ensuring that no recruit goes into war not knowing which end of the gun they should point toward the enemy. We will get Chita Training Academy, which will actually give us something. Division training time plus 5%, but the organization will be 2.5, and army professionalism will begin to improve. Okay, so the training academy is well built. So now we have 21 days for attacking, and they are actually fighting a border war. So I think it's the best moment to select eyeing Yakutsk. Yakutsk is a small frontier republic that happens to reside right across our border. In any other circumstance, we would not have gone after them this quickly. However, their lands contain something much more valuable than workers or industrial capacity. Tales of diamonds and riches stemming from its trade travel south, eventually reaching the ears of Werbell. With the booming size of our armed forces, these jewels would be useful in procuring pay for the incoming mercenaries. The plans for our next step is clear. We are attacking the Republic of Yakutia, not out of spite or personal grievances, but necessary pragmatic interests. Without ideological support and only guarded by local militiamen and outlaws brought over by the promises of high pay, Yakutia will not be much of a challenge. The issue is time. The other powers of the Far East will set their sights upon this land soon, and if we are not quick, this chance could be lost forever. Okay, so let's get right into it. Now is the time to attack. We are kinda pushing through, but the terrain is unforgivable. But maybe with some encouragement we'll be able to do some proper damage. And we are doing some proper damage actually. And Yakutsk is ours. Their diamonds shine bright no more. So I think that the best thing to do now is to end the episode. I hope that you've liked it. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you've liked the content that I made, because most of you don't subscribe. And if you'd like to leave me some money, then the Patreon link is in the description below. So see you in the next episode, where we will be probably taking on the divine mandate of Siberia, or we'll be defending against them. I have no idea, but we'll see. So see ya.